wire, you basically
when it
have the current
condenses and
flow
gets smaller,
without any resistance. Okay, that's what.
what about with ice when it, it becomes frozen, but it doesn't condense, it expands. So the molecular structure is different under different extremities, right? As opposed to cold and heat. And electric, it would be heat. And with water, it would be cold, with H2O. So there's different reactions to different structures in the way that they conduct themselves, right? So it obviously goes in a different direction, like a compress in a crystal. Is it heat that makes that go together and makes it in crystal? So it doesn't melt, right? Once you go to the other extreme. So when things are cold, they're obviously operating different than when they're hot. So we have quantum computing and data centers. Okay, and so for the data center things to work, it has to be extremely hot, and you need a lot of cooling things. So that has a large volume with warm and so with quantum computing, it's like literally freezing the process, and then it just goes. I don't know. I'm trying to think this over here. Well, I'm listening to this guy talk. He won the Nobel Prize for tunneling and electricity stuff, electric currents. And so, I wonder if that's going to make them God. But they're making jokes about the stuff. But as far as the verbiage and the linguistics and the over examining of things, I don't do. And so they explain it, and I go, okay. And then he'll say something, and I'll go, okay, but then that, and then there's this. And so we're looking at different extremes. And that's what they're doing, and that's what he got a Nobel Prize for, was studying things to extremes and see how they work in extremes. And balance, harmony, and understanding is the requirement for existence for us to examine and study and try to comprehend extremes. But life being eternal and grace being infinite, if you try to grasp the infinite with the finite, it'll drive you mad, right? I'm feeling very Michio Kaku right now. Look, I don't want to go to NYU. I don't want to go to New York. I just want to stay in New Mexico. I really don't want to travel much at all. I'm going to be 60 this July. I've been abused by the most aggressive, excessive, compulsive, narcissistic perverts in the whole world. And I want like a 50-acre square radius, and I don't want to leave it much. And if people ask me to, La Playa awaits. Yeah, I could maybe go to a beach in Mexico and hang out there for a while too. I'm still more of a mountain man than a beach guy, And as long as I'm not in an environment that keeps reloading me with toxins from chemtrails and carbon emission poisoning, I think I'll be okay in the winters and the Gila once I can get out and detox and let my this little river body, clean out and recover. I've noticed with some of the stuff they've been going over and the stuff with the people with cancer and stuff like that is basically what happens is you want to look at a body as a river. And after a while, the filter, you can clean it out, is sewage cleans it out. Like with, what's his face? Quincy Jones, when he got sick and they said go to the Bahamas or whatever, 6 months, and he recovered. And then he went right back to what he was into. Because when you can't maintain the economics, okay, and we all can't live in Santa Barbara. Most of us have to live in Riverside or El Cajon or Compton, but or Inglewood. And so, but Earl. So you got to look at our bodies like a river, and the more sewage it gets in, then it just shuts it down, and then they like try to change the filter or whatever. I don't know. These people are crazy, and so it's just these are just delusions that people are telling themselves to try to remain in positions of power. And then try to keep, we're just, you're not discovering anything. At least, okay. You're manipulating matter and then studying it to its most minute detail. and then if you're missing things or whatever stuff, but it's not really as relevant as they think it is. Okay, because they're trying to get the way to manipulate people with technology to feel powerful and trying to do it without being self-destructive. That's basically what they're doing. And I'm like, what's going on here? Is okay, yeah. And it's like, I was listening to it, and
Superconductor is.
where's it at? It's almost an hour. I listened to 10 minutes. That's not bad. That's pretty good for me. Chuck helped. He asked questions, and so I'm sitting there because he was asking questions. I was listening, but I know if he did help, because I think if he hadn't have asked the questions, I think the guy would have kept talking, and I would have kept going, okay, and it wouldn't have taken so long, and I probably would have stopped listening at about 5. Yeah, it's true. Okay, so Chuck didn't help. Chuck didn't help at all. So yeah, he did the exact opposite about probably so. Yeah. Okay, so but yeah, because as far as some of the other things and the verbiage they use, I'm just let's just get down to the brass tacks and let me look at it and then go, okay. So what's happening? What's happening, brother? Woo 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 woo. Hey baby, what's no good? I'm just getting back, but you knew I would. War as hell. When will it end? When will people start getting together again? I don't think they ever really were. I think there's just little pockets and stories of faithful people. Like Book of Malachi and the coming together in the Medina Charter, and then the Hajj to Mecca and stuff and things. And so there's these little pockets of hope, yelp, and for the most part, no, it's been large groups of I want to feel powerful. We are the gods. We are the masters of the universe. And like old Nate Reynolds in his T-shirt, never underestimate that it's not power. The influence of large groups of stupid people, it's not power. Okay. God is power. God is the essence of human beings. Human beings ignore natural laws and try to take over and be God, and they blow it all up. There's still power. Just no morons with a perception of that they have power. Manipulating matter is not powerful. It's just the more you attempt to do it, the more pathetic you become. The less you attempt to do it, the more intelligent and humble and faithful you are, and then the more of a gift to humanity you are. That's why everybody prays to Jesus and not to Albert Einstein. But I really like Albert Einstein. He's a good guy, but Albert dummied up a lot of times. I told you we've talked in prayer. Of all the scientists in that generation, the one person I've had the most connections to, well, because I knew who he was. And I knew he didn't like participating. He felt he hated a lot of it. And what I love about Albert Einstein is he dummied up. Not to get not to be a part of, and not to continue the things that they were doing. And they've even had things where they were like, I think it was like they were teleporting something to a room, it was like a pencil or something. Guy ran in there and it ended up in the guy's body. And he said, you guys are fucking with shit we shouldn't be fucking with. And he quit and went out. And so, yeah, I have a real, just a large affection. I see him as a line of Ananiah, Azariah, and Mishael. I see and feel him in that line. Which one? It really doesn't matter. That's not really that relevant. Because they're all good men. They were all friends of Daniel, right? Not Balthazar, right? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, right? Slave names. Toby, Kunta, right? So, only dogs are given names by others, men name themselves, Which, when people, I wouldn't probably change the last name if I was a slave. I mean, the first name, I'd change my last, If I found my last name was Kinte, I'd change my name to Christian Kinte if my parents named me Christian, right? Or, my name was DeMonte, I'd change my name to DeMonte Kinte, right? Is what I would change my name to. I would keep the Christendom name that my parents gave me out of love, and then I'd change my name to my family name. Okay. If that was the case, okay. then that's a tough one too, because, am I named what I'm named for good or bad reasons? Did the people, the person, the Murphy did he marry this Ubangi and ended up the loving, the one thing with Robin Givens and Mr. and Mrs. Loving, am I the product of a man who loved my mother and, my Mr. Robbins? True, I wasn't born in it, but my life's not dependent on their kind of narrow affection. And why would I know to name myself, to this African tribe who might have been warring and pissed people off and was shitty, so they grabbed him and kidnapped him and sold him into slavery because he was a rapist and a murderer and they hated him. So you never know the circumstances. You're not God, right? And so when you look at a situation, changing your name to something that might have been horrible, or someone in a line of people that might have been horrible. Why? What's your name? Albert Amin. Albert Amin, huh? Yes, I named myself after my relatives in Uganda. Ooh. You see what I'm saying? And not saying that all of them are bad. Look, I'm a Parsons. Ralph M. Parsons is a Parsons, right? Parsons Aeronautics and Parsons, the living embodiment of Lord's Prayer Parsons. Okay. And I got people in my own family named Parsons that will rip you off and keep stolen property in the front yard, right? So just because people are related doesn't mean Jesus, Caiaphas, and Herod were all cousins, right? Do you understand? Herschel Steinschneider and Adolf Hitler were cousins and might have been very well related to my grandmother Kramer, okay? And she gave birth to my mom, and mom gave birth to me, okay? So, and look what happened with Joseph and his siblings, and look what happened with Jesus and Caiaphas and Herod, his cousins, and look what happened with Muhammad with his cousins, and the dove's nest and the spider's web, okay? So just because you're related to people doesn't mean you share the same morals, the same values, the same character. Money's a horse, shall lie with anybody. Trust, honor, and character will only lie with those who are worthy, okay? And you can only talk to people so much about right from wrong, good from bad. That's a Nobel Prize. Like, I really write righteously, Oscar, Golden Globe, give a fuck. I don't care, Grammy whammies. That's not your Grammy, it's your grammar. Look, drives you nuts, doesn't it? And so, you can try. Hope springs eternal, right? But, David Rockefeller and my noggin in Cochise County. They'll gladly kill over me and my grandpa's money and watch you and your Jesus die, Parsons. And they'll gladly sell you out for a corner office, a timeshare, 401k, validated parking, season tickets, and reservations at their best restaurant, their favorite restaurant. You're like, yeah, I get it. Okay. But the Lord's Prayer, that's something they do in the clouds with Jesus after they're dead. Because they feel better than you, because you won't sell them out for a corner office, 401k, validated parking. What was the other? Timeshare, season tickets, and reservations at their favorite restaurants. Okay. Alrighty then. What about Uber Eats? What about, I don't know. It's nuts, isn't it? It's Shimmy, Kimmy, Cocoa, Bob, Nuts, or Red. Yeah, it's Bill, Wine, Ipap, Earl. I don't know. So it needs to stop, right? It's obvious it needs to stop. Okay. And the quantum computing, because of its capacity, can store and have a lot more information than ever before. Okay, but it can cut through the crap on the information and eliminate the excessive and unnecessary real quick. That's not necessary. So, okay. So quantum computing is getting a little bit more like me and Jesus and Suzuki, and a lot less like the people that needed to invent it, because they're not like me and Jesus and Suzuki, right? Okay. Suzuki's been trying to explain that to me. I'm like, it's just, my river feels polluted and like I'm going to die. Earl, stop thinking that way. I know. And they try to, I should do Tai Chi. Okay, why would I want to do a lot of Tai Chi to hang out with and have sex with mass murderers? Okay, live the Lord's Prayer. Then I'll think about doing Tai Chi. I'll do things to survive. Survive, stop, eliminate abuse, but I don't need your fucking advice. I don't need your ads. I don't need your commercials. I don't need your impulses. And I don't need your trying to connect to me to say, we share the same heart. Like that fucking dumbass sociopath who, bald Mexican Nerds Cratchit and, El Paso, healing the heart and mind of the poor police boxing champion. Should you? I don't know to feel sorry for her or think is she just mean and crazy. Okay, and I wonder if she thinks the same thing. I need help. I need electrotherapy therapy. I can't help wanting to beat the shit out of other women for lots of money. Well, I want to go to the casino and try to have sex with a girl who can't get the straw in her mouth. Not me. I don't know why. If she doesn't believe the Lord's Prayer is perfect and doesn't want to live it right now, I don't want anything to do with that woman. Some girls, they're remember Guru? It's inside they're ugly, right? And that's a brain wiring problem that Andrew Huberman hasn't figured out yet, that we're still dealing with to this day. Shit, we suck again. No, we haven't stopped sucking. It's just not suck again. It's like, no, they make it seem like, they take they get caught doing something dirty. And then they come around and, we're going to be good, right? And then next thing you know, we need more money. Like the whole thing with the stuff about the Somali thing, right? And they're doing this, and they say what the military and the Trump organization is telling you, they're giving the money to terrorists, okay, to come and kill Americans, right? Like, you don't think that they're sending it to Somalia to people that are really poor so they won't be really, really poor? You have that never entered your mind that could be happening? Okay? That they could be sending a lot of that money to Somalia so people aren't sleeping on the floor? So people aren't dying from malnutrition? So people aren't being murdered by corporate greed? It never occurred to you that all that money being sent to Somalia was being used to stop women from getting circumcised by wackadoodles? To stop children from being put into human trafficking? But the whole reason we have all these conditions is because you assholes won't recognize the living Messiah and stand up for the Lord's Prayer. Right? Right. So, run over that man and shoot his daughter. Right? Well, I understand. She was doing something she shouldn't be doing. Right. But shouldn't we all be living the Lord's Prayer? No, because we have free will and we elect to fight and fucking kill over Rockefeller Foundation Endowment of the Arts money. Why? Because I want a corner office. I want a 401k. I want a timeshare. I want validated parking. I want season tickets. And I want reservations at my favorite restaurant. And you also want a really good gambling scheme? Right. And you also want a side chick that gives you the girlfriend experience with the Trafalgar, right? That does lots of hamburger and cups the balls like Margaret Cho, right? But more attractive than Margaret Cho, right? Like the little girl who with the guy I watched, remember, he was the one who griped about the white girl who was a Muslim, and then he also griped about the girl who was cute in her car and saying, I've worked on this and I've worked on myself and I love my dog, but I can't find a guy that I can trust to have an emotional, affectionate, relationship, romantic relationship with. He's like, well, they do this. It's like, she's valid in the way she feels, and she's hoping maybe if I put this out there might be some guy who feels the same way too. I want to go shopping together. I like the same things to buy that you do. I like to go to the same meaningless, ridiculous concerts that you do. I am also amused and feel like the people that sing songs for lots of money and get lots of photos because they're, very sexually desirable to shallow people too. I like them that too. Why, yes, I am just like you and you are just like me. For how long? As long as we need it. And then We'll take a yoga class. We'll do some meditation. We'll find somebody else to have sex with if it's necessary. If not, we'll take our cancer treatment. We'll die. Someone will take our poems and our songs and sell them to get more people to understand, hey, that's a way. I've been throwing horseshoes over my left shoulder. I've spent most all my life searching for that four-leaf clover. Yet you run with me, chasing my rainbows. Honey, I think I love you too. That's the way love goes when we think we love each other when we're not living the Lord's Prayer. That's the way love goes, babe, when we think we're living the Lord's Prayer and it's music God made for the Nobel Prize winners to see. In electric currents that don't work the same as they do in a beer that got frozen in your icebox, you see. Losing makes me sorry. That bear's never going to be good ever again. You say, honey, don't worry, I'll buy you more. Honey, I think I love you too. That's the way love goes when you're denied living of the Lord's Prayer and the heart of Psalms and the seat of Proverbs. There you go. All righty then. We'll talk later. I'm going to go back on. When this soul world starts getting me down and people are just too much for me to face, I got to go back up on the roof. All right, peace.